think I want to start by saying that it's a good thing we're having a strategy session, and I'll speak to 4 major areas that I think the FIRS should be looking into in order to raise tax revenue, but also to improve the tax system. The first one is creativity. We need to get creative. Paying taxes anywhere in the world is not easy. So Nigeria is not an exception. Just that we're not used to paying taxes, so it's a little bit more difficult for us. If you consider today that the price of fuel products, if you take PMS, petrol, officially by the PPPRA as of today, the price is 80 naira. But when you go to the pump, you pay about 86.50 or 87. By law, there's supposed to be VAT on petroleum products. We don't charge it. At the time when the market price was higher than the pump price, government was subsidizing it, and we felt, well, there was no point adding VAT that government will in turn pay. But now we have a fantastic opportunity to do what the law says, and the people will still not pay more than the pump price. 5% of 80 is about 4 naira. And you guys can make hundreds of billions of naira from this. What you just need to do is implement. You don't need a new law to do this one. About 80% of Nigeria's GDP is on consumption, which is about $400 billion. If you look around the world, there's a significant percentage of consumption GDP that people collect in VAT. But it's very different in Nigeria. If we collect about 500 billion naira, that's about $2.5 billion. Imagine we collect just a fraction of that 80%, even half of it, for VAT. We should be talking about close to $10 billion, which is like 2 trillion naira, even if you use the CBN rates. But why is it that compliance is very low? A combination of factors. Enforcement is good, but it will not do the magic overnight. And that's where creativity comes in. How about we do a raffle? So we make public announcements, create awareness, that when you buy anything, make sure you collect a receipt. Ensure there's VAT on that receipt. And have an arrangement with the mobile companies. There's a code you can text it to, okay? We can do it by geopolitical zones. You can even give out fridges, TVs, even cars. What you're going to get from that is, number one, you've created an awareness. Now, individual taxpayers have a stake because they can win something. They would ensure they collect those receipts. When they send the test, FIRS has information that someone just charged VAT. You can verify whether they've remitted. And guess what? As people are reporting themselves for consumption, you can align it, connect the dots about their income tax returns. The guy who just bought a TV of 100,000 naira, who wants to win raffle, I will find out whether he's filed returns and how much income he has declared. And this will help us significantly, in my view. I'll move on quickly because of time to the next item, and that is simplicity. At the moment, Nigeria ranks 179 out of 189 economies in the world, which means for people who actually want to pay tax, the process is extremely complicated. It's counterintuitive if your GDP tax ratio is very low, and then you make life difficult for people who want to pay. There was a time I wanted to assist a CEO pay their tax. And this person was in Lagos at the time. And he was supposed to file returns in another state I'm not going to mention, so we couldn't find anything on the internet. So we had to fly to Abuja. From Abuja, took a taxi to go to these other states to collect the form. Took it back to Lagos for this CEO to fill it and sign, because I couldn't sign on his behalf. And the information was confidential. I had to do this alone. I couldn't even send my staff. I had to take another trip to go and submit it. And when I was done, I said to this head of tax authority, I said, why don't you create a website and put this form there so we can download it? Provide information of your bank statement so we can pay from Lagos without coming here. And he was very reluctant and said they do not have a website. I then said to the JTB, why don't you help all the states? In your portal, create a portal for all the states. Collect all the funds from them and upload it there. And at the end of the day, we went around, and some of them were reluctant. They said, because there's so much fraud in Nigeria, they don't want to review their bank accounts. Since when did people steal money from account by knowing the numbers? Okay? So if you make the process of compliance complicated, you're not going anywhere. And we also have to leverage technology. Accessibility to information must be top-notch. I shouldn't struggle to find a VAT form. I shouldn't struggle to find information about where to file my returns, where to collect ECC. We have a disjointed approach to how we raise tax revenue in Nigeria, and we need to be honest with ourselves. Before you finish saying Jack Robinson, somebody introduces a new bill, they want to collect security tax. I lent this money, another person wants to collect telecommunication tax. There are guys who want to increase education tax to 4%. We're doing all of this in a disjointed manner, and it's not getting us anywhere. Every tax we introduce, we create a fund and a body of trustees. We're duplicating the collection mechanism. We focus a lot on whether we can collect revenue. We pay little attention to the cost of collection. Globally, it should be 1%. For many of us, it's over 5%. We need to also fix it. I don't know whether it will work, but maybe we should have a coordinating committee for Nigeria on tax matters, where you're going to have representatives of the FIRS, the states, the National Assembly, and state. Before anybody introduces anything that is called tax, let's sense check it, whether this is what Nigeria wants and whether it's the direction in which we want to go. Another loophole is we know the issues with the Pension Reform Act. It was a fantastic piece of legislation, but it was abused. And in the process of recreating it in 2014, guess what we did as a nation? We created a significant loophole so that states can no longer collect PAYE. And I'll tell you what it is. It used to be that if you made any voluntary contribution under the Pension Reform Act, it was tax-free, but you needed to wait 5 years before you could withdraw it. If you withdraw before 5 years, you then have to pay the tax. In our wisdom, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, in 2014 we decided you could contribute any amount voluntarily, and guess what? You can withdraw as you please without paying tax. And I've received calls from so many PFAs who say to me, Taiwo, is there anything happening? Why are people contributing and withdrawing it? People are doing it on a daily basis. A CFO still called me last week and said, my staff said that they want to contribute more to Pension Reform Act. And is it okay for him to allow them? I said, well, based on the law, you can allow them. If on one hand, states are becoming almost bankrupt, and on the other hand, we're so disjointed, creating more loopholes, this is not sustainable. I'll conclude by saying, we say to ourselves that we have moved away from oil, but let me correct us. We haven't moved away from oil, it's oil that moved away from us. Because if you moved away from oil, you would have replaced that revenue. We haven't replaced it. And I like this quotation from the former Saudi Arabian oil minister. You know, even Saudi Arabia has now, they are introducing VAT. He said that the Stone Age did not end for lack of stone, and therefore the oil age will end long before the world runs out of oil. We're going to get to a point where we're not going to worry about low oil prices. It will be no oil revenue. At the moment, the cost of producing a barrel in Nigeria is almost the price at which we are selling. So the net revenue for us is zero. We need to prepare for that. And I'll say to you, this is the time that we need to think creatively. This is the time that we need to think proactively. This is the time that we have to look at all the resources we have on how best to move Nigeria forward. We're not just tax collectors, we are task administrators, we should think about the system. And it's not just enough to think outside of the box. Let's get rid of the box. Thank you very much.